to say an official welcome to Class 3 as we tackle the third step in organizing that room. And we all know what room that is, that space. And as we said when we first got started, you may have more than one room, and that's perfectly fine. In fact, many of us do. The concept here and the idea behind it was to really get those three steps down and to practice them in this first area. And then, once we see that one area with the big change that's happened and the new systems in place and everything has a home and we're starting to get in new routines, now what you can do is to actually take these three steps, and we'll be talking about the third one tonight, but you can take those three steps and apply them to any space in your life, your home, your office, your car. They work in exactly the same order, exactly the same way in any space. So, with that in mind, let's just remember that it takes about 21 days to create a new habit. So, let's just say that you had tackled your kitchen countertop where piles of mail and just stuff were landing, and you had all these items, and you had appliances you weren't using and appliances you wanted to use but couldn't get to, and just, it was kind of the catch all space. Now, if that was where you were applying our three steps, then you may find now that for the majority of the time, that countertop looks pretty much how you wanted it to look. Remember, we kind of took away those perfectionistic, unrealistic expectations of ourselves and made it something that we could achieve, working in small blocks of time to get that space back. And now it's going to take about 21 times, which for most of us would be about 21 days, of maybe walking in the door with something in our hand like the mail, going to put it down on the countertop, and then having to remember, oh wait, that's not what I do. And my new routine is, and whether it's standing over a desktop box or whatever your new system is, standing over the recycling, the shredding, only bringing the mail in when you have the time to deal with it, that's a new habit that is going to take some time to lay that foundation. With that in mind, I just want to remind you that it's very possible there are going to be some slide backs, little setbacks, let's say. I would encourage us all to just expect that that will happen. If it doesn't happen, fantastic. And we've prepared in advance for that to happen, and it didn't, and so we prepared for nothing, but that's so much better than thinking, I'm different than everyone else, and even though Jamie says it's probably going to happen, it's not going to happen to me, so I'm not going to prepare for it, and then if you do end up with a small pile, it's devastating. So I just want to remind you that in this process, there's going to be days where you feel under the weather. It's a really busy day. An emergency crept up. You just got back from vacation. You had unexpected company. The cat wasn't feeling well. Whatever happened that can kind of just set it back. What you now have is the tool to recognize the small piles, the small, oh, that doesn't belong there, before it gets to be a big, overwhelming pile that then you lack the energy to deal with. So you have the tools, it's the noticing that's going to be so important here. So as we kind of walk into the third step now, and just as a refresher, week one and step one, what we focused in on was setting that timer for 18 minutes, staying focused in the one area and working until the bell rang. If we stayed there until the timer went off, we met our goal. Even if the space didn't look tremendously different, even if we weren't done, which probably for most of us we weren't, we still met our goal of working focused for 18 minutes, trying our very best not to get sidetracked, having what we needed at hand, whether you had to wear an apron so you had pockets for your tools, whatever works, so that in that time you're not running off to other areas of your probably home or office and, well, you forget to come back. Then what we did, step two, was just putting away what we use and love and finding really good homes for all the other stuff. So sort of that ruthless purge where you go, I've got something else that does this. This one I use and love all the time and I definitely need that one. And then putting it in a home in a way that you could find it again, which probably means storing it where you can use it in clearly labeled containers, something that's easy. And so now what you're probably finding is that, you've got a system starting to emerge. Sometimes it takes it looking a little bit worse for just a moment before you can kind of go, oh, okay, now I get it. I see the system coming into place. You may have had to move things out of their original location to make the space, sort of like a game of checkers where you move one thing and then something else moves and you jump over here. And that's very natural. There's nothing wrong with doing that, that we just want to stay focused and continue to do it. Otherwise, whatever we've moved now ends up in another area. So, welcome. We're just hitting our class 3 here, and we were doing a brief recap of our steps 1 and 2. And of course, you know, it was setting the timer for 18 minutes and then putting away just what we use in love. And now we kind of are seeing the system. And that's the great thing, because not having any clutter is completely unrealistic. It's a pipe dream. It's just not going to happen. Life comes with a lot of stuff. That's the fact. You know, as you got a pile of papers in order or you got a book bag cleaned out, more stuff's coming. The difference is now you have a system for dealing with it. So we want to look at this as a process, and it's a process that's going to continue to change, and you're going to continue to tweak it. So we don't want to get so regimented in, you know, something like my car keys have to hang on this hook. Because what you may find is you're going to start coming in another door, and you know, maybe you use one door in the summer and one door in the winter, and if you use a different door, then it wouldn't make sense to run your keys all the way to the other door. So these systems are in flux, but you know, the majority of the time they're working, and you know what's working, and we want to catch what's not working, if there's anything that's not working, and tweak it. Now, you may not know that right now. Don't panic. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, I have to know the answers right now, and I don't know if it's going to work 21 days from now. Just relax. Go with the system, and know that you can always be in touch with me via email, which is jamie@jamienovak.com, Facebook or Twitter, whatever's easiest for you, and just let me know, hey, you know, been working with the system, this is going great, have a question about that, or what product would you suggest here, anything like that. So don't feel like you have to know now, because you very well may not. So we don't want to put any more pressure on the system. Okay, so step 3. Now that we've worked and spent our time and our energy and really focused in to get that new system running, and we can see a difference in the amount of clutter. We see that, you know, horizontal surfaces are cleared, or our filing cabinet is cleared off, or we can start to see the bookcases. Now we want to keep it that way. Nothing's worse than putting all this time and energy into a goal and then seeing that goal slowly slip away as more things are piled there, and you start to think, you know, you kind of let that little inner critic in that starts saying things like, well, you knew you weren't very organized. You know, why did you think you could do this? You weren't born organized. You know, your husband, your sister-in-law, your mother-in-law, your sister, they were right. You know, they know how to do it, but you don't. All these like self-doubt can really start to come in, and it's not helpful. It doesn't help you. It actually only hurts your progress. So I want to assure you that you do have the steps, the tools, and you're working towards this, and it is a process. And so wherever we are with this, we just want to keep going, and we want to stop what we can from coming. So I want to give you maybe some new guidelines, some new household rules, whatever you want to call them. And so I'm going to share them with you now, but just a reminder before I do. You don't have to use every single one of them. Even if just one of them hits home and you go, oh, that's the one for us, then that's the one for you. You don't need to use each and every one of them. So if that's clear, I don't want to put any added, you know, pressure on, like, oh, I've got to, you know, not only am I doing 18 minutes and I've got to put things away, but now I've got to try all these rules, and that's absolutely not the case. We want to give you, you know, some guidelines that you think would be helpful. So if you're ready for those, I want to share them with you now. I bet now what's going to happen is you're going to hear one and you're going to go, oh, that sounds like it's going to work for me. So let me go through them now with you. And the first one would be a little 5-minute tidy, or a run through at the end of the day, or first thing in the morning if you're more of a morning person. Some of us like to go to bed knowing everything's buttoned up. Others of us, it's the last thing we can think about at night, but first thing in the morning before everything starts happening, we've got those 5 minutes. And the idea here is to just kind of walk through the rooms, open drawers, doors, closets, and just take a peek. Did anything kind of get out of whack? Did anything get out of order? You know, maybe someone pulled something out of the pantry and then other boxes fell down. Now's the time to take, 30 seconds and stand them up. And you think, well, I don't know, that doesn't really seem like it would make that much of a difference. Trust me, it does. Have you ever noticed, like, when one thing's out, then other things happen around it? So if you can just catch that. So just that 5-minute walkthrough. If that sounds like it would work for you, that could just be a new routine. And if you've got other people in the house that are kind of on the same page with you, you can make it fun. You can set a timer. It can be right before dessert, so that it can kind of be the thing that you do before you get dessert. And that works for us too, right? That little reward that we hold off on watching our program, or having a scoop of ice cream. Another would be to add organizing to your monthly list of happenings. Often we'll go in, take the car in for an oil change, we get our hair cut, we go grocery shopping, but organizing is not often on that list. And just the idea that you're going to be bringing more things into your home means that on about a monthly basis, we just want to scan a particular area. So maybe August will be the time you look at your linen closet, and September maybe you'll look at something in the kitchen cabinets, and you just want to look, did you bring more stuff in? Should something be addressed now before it becomes a bigger issue? The 2-minute rule, I think, is one of my most favorite ones, and that is if you can do a task in 2 minutes or less, just do it right then. And I think, for so many of us, we think I'll just do it later. Oh, I'll get to that later. I'll put that down now and I'll do it later. And then later never comes. And all of a sudden there's all these things left out that need your attention. So if you have your canvas bags left from grocery shopping, run them to the front seat of the car now. Don't put them down to remember to take you with you grocery shopping next week, because chances are you won't remember. And then they're in the way for the whole next week. So the 2-minute rule, I think, is one of my favorites, and if you're not sure where to start, that could be the place to start. A lost and found is also a great idea. One lost and found on every level of your home. It's one bin, basket, container, drawer, where if someone else shares a space with you and leaves something out, a battery, a black cord, a pair of sunglasses, something, and you don't want to spend your time putting it away, but that person's not there to do it, it's just easier to toss it into this container, and then when that person comes looking for it, they'll know just where to look. The lost and found. Schools, gyms, libraries have lost and founds, and they can work very well for you. The next one is one of the golden rules that I've sort of tweaked, because I think it's a rule that you should never follow as the rule is said, but it's definitely a rule you should follow if we modify it. And I sort of addressed it in this Monday's Past newsletter. It's the 1 in, 1 out rule, which we know doesn't work very well because, well, if you have a overstuffed space and you bring one more thing in and take one more thing out, you're only going to continue to balance and have equally as much stuff. But 1 in, 2 out definitely works. And I also think that, they'll say, oh, well, if you bring in one new pair of jeans, you should let one pair of jeans go. Well, that's not going to work for me, because if I don't have enough jeans and I brought one in because I didn't have enough, then letting one pair of jeans go is just not going to happen. But something from the same category could work. So 1 pair of jeans into my closet, 2 closet items out, and that could totally work. So that's easier to do around holidays if you have small children, because they're more willing to let things go right before they know they're going to get stuff. And maybe that's true for us too. So with the upcoming holidays, 1 in and 2 out. A couple of more that I'll share with you, and then of course we have some questions to get to, but where will I put this? Before you buy it or bring it into your home, that's a great question to ask, and if you don't have a really good answer, then leave the item behind. And I actually have a little sticky note wrapped around my credit card, and that's the one that I kind of, as I pull out the credit card, that note reminds me, and I'll ask myself, and I have on more than one occasion found myself taking something off the conveyor belt and putting it back or leaving it behind, thinking, I don't really need this. I have something else that does something similar, or, the vase that looked really good on the table in the display in the store. Well, when I think about where am I going to put that, it's just not logical. It's not coming home with me. And I can't even remember ever going back to get the item. Think, in a regret. But if I did, I could have. So you have kind of that option. And if you did bring it home, keep the receipt nearby, just in case you realize, wait a minute, I probably should have left that, and then it's easy to return. Another would be to really collect experiences and not stuff. So we're looking for clutter-free gift ideas, especially with, the holidays, but at any time. Food items, experiences, tickets to things, adventures. It's something that you can do, and that's going to build the memory, and you're not getting more stuff. So you can kind of just maybe announce to any friends or family that ask you for a wish list, and just say, hey, you know what, I'd really just love to go to dinner and a movie, or there's a play I've been wanting to see, or how about we go to the spa, whatever it is that would be more enjoyable than getting yet another item that's going to take your time and attention to care about and worry over and clean and store and all that good stuff. So another would be to really leave room for more to come. And I mean this seriously. For years, I would find myself organizing to the just so position. Like, I would have a bookcase and I would organize all the books on it just so, and there wasn't room for one more book to come. And then when I would get one more book, it would end up sitting horizontally on top of other books or next to the bookshelf, and that doesn't work out so well because then you've got an overstuffed space. So you're going to get more. You're going to get more clothing, you're going to get more holiday decorations, you're going to get more glassware, you're going to get more. And so if you just leave space now, especially in storage containers, don't pack them to the hilt. Like, if you know that you can just barely get that lid on, go ahead and separate that out into two so that you'll have room to put more stuff away. Because what happens is then when you go to put something in storage and it doesn't fit, you think, oh, I'll just put it over here until I get more, which is the same idea of putting it there till later. Then later never happens and you never use that item again because you can't find it. So leaving room for more to come is super important. I just want to share one other new guideline or household rule. And if one or two of these is really speaking to you, don't be afraid to write it down and post it up, especially for a specific period of time, just until you kind of get into the new habit, that new routine. And this is to keep labeling supplies handy and ready to go. Nothing's worse than, putting something in a new container and then not having a label nearby to label the container. So you think, okay, well, I'll label the container later. And then, as we know, later doesn't come. Now the container's not labeled. Or like, I just got a new camera, and the cord, I wanted to label the cord, but I would have had to have gone to find the items that I needed to make the label, and so I didn't do it right then. And the cord has no label. And so now I'm not really sure, does it go to the new camera? Does it go to the GPS machine? Like, nobody knows. And it just, if that had been there, and you don't have to have, 16 different kinds of labels, but the go-to place where, if I pull open this drawer, I'm going to find a Sharpie marker, scraps of paper and tape, or, old labels that you would normally put through the printer that you would print addresses on. If you're not using those, they make great labels. They're, already pre-sticky, and you can just wrap it around and write on it. So it doesn't have to be a label that comes out of a label maker. It doesn't have to be beautiful in any way. It just has to say what it is. You can go back and perfect it in your spare time if you want to scrapbook a label out of doilies and beautiful crafting paper. Fantastic. But for now, let's get a temporary label on it. Even if it's a sticky note, gotta love the sticky notes. Use the brand name ones. The other ones tend to fall off. And just get a label on it. So those are just, I think, a few of my favorite, I think I told you all of my favorite new guidelines or household rules, and some are going to work for you and others not so much, but try them out, pick the one that worked with you the most. So now, as we keep going, we definitely want our after photo. And if you feel like it's not the after photo, then maybe an intermediate photo until we get to the after photo. But now's the time to capture that, to capture your progress or to capture your success story. And that's going to work obviously as a visual of what you don't want to go back to, and sort of as a reward, that visual image of look what I did. And really to sit back and be proud of yourself and say, this is what I accomplished. All my time and energy went into something, and here's the proof of it. So it's a great reminder to not go back to the before, and the after is a wonderful image. So you may want to take your after photo or your intermediate photo if you're not quite where you want it to be yet. And so with that in mind, I just want to remind you to keep going. Whatever is going to be that motivating factor for you, whether you email me and say, I'm going in for another 18, this is what I'm working on, whether you go public on your own Facebook page, whatever you have to do, if that idea of holding off on something you would normally do, like watching your favorite television program until you've done another 18 minutes works, whatever is going to be your little trick to keep the motivation and the energy up, just to see the project through to its finish. And I think that's why the photos are so powerful. And, remembering why in the first place you wanted to get there. So at the very start of our calls together and our time together, I had asked you if you could kind of come up with a phrase or a word that really described how you felt. And many of you shared those with me. And words that come to mind, they were, overwhelmed, stressed out, unsuccessful, wrong, awful, low energy. And so now I would just like to ask you to take just a moment and think about how you feel now. And even if you're not at the finish line where you feel like you can say, done, that's okay. Are you feeling hopeful? Do you feel like, there's something there? Are you seeing progress? Those are the kinds of words that I hope are coming to mind for you. And it's just a great reminder to stop, to pause and reflect and see where you are and to see the difference in how things can change in just even a short period of time. So with that in mind, I just want to remind you that later doesn't come. Take action in the moment every time you can. Don't set yourself up for failure. You want a recipe for success where you've got realistic expectations of yourself, of your time, of your energy. And expect that even with your best intentions and the most perfect system ever, there will be times where things are going to kind of happen, where they'll start to accumulate again. But the great part is knowing that you have the tools and the systems in place to catch it and to clear that space and to keep it clutter-free from here on out. So I am just so thrilled, and I want to thank you so much for really spending your time with me. It's a great gift that you give to me to join me and to share your success and your progress with me. And this isn't the end of our time together. You know that you can always reach out to say, hey, remember, took the class a year ago, just have a quick question, or I want to let you know that it's been a year and it's still going strong. That system was perfect for me. So that's what I hope we'll continue to share. And I just want to thank you so much for our time together. And I want to wish you a clutter-free day. This has been Jamie, and we'll be ending our time together now.